way. The sacraments operate in virtue of their own power, irrespective of the minister of that sacrament or the one receiving that sacrament. Now, I have to add a very important, and this is one of those key principles. It's a key principle that you need to learn, because it will explain many things for you if you can understand and interiorize this principle. Yes, it is true, the sacraments operate ex opere operato, but there's another side, another part to that expression in Latin, obicem non ponentibus, if you do not posit an obstacle. And so, yes, the sacraments operate in virtue of their own power. However, if you are not disposed to receive a sacrament, if you are in mortal sin, or even in a state of grace and you don't care about the sacrament, you're indifferent, the degree of grace you receive from that sacrament depends upon your disposition. There's an axiom in metaphysics that holds true. Things are received according to the mode of the receiver. And quite simply, that means you get what you're ready to get. And if you're not ready to get it, you're not going to get it. And if you don't want it, you may not get much out of it. It's there. The sacrament's valid. It operates. It's right there. Grace is poised and ready. But do you want it? Well, the degree of holiness that you have entered into has much to say about how much of God's grace you receive from any given administration of a sacrament. I'll give you an example. Confirmation. Great sacrament. We'll talk about it today. If you're in a state of grace, you receive the sacrament of confirmation. Number one, of course, the sacrament is valid, assuming that the form and matter and the disposition of the celebrant is there. But let's say you're an indifferent kind of a person. You don't pray. You haven't been invoking the Holy Spirit. You're a rather lackluster Christian. You don't practice your faith. Well, you will receive some grace. You'll receive the sacrament. That indelible seal will be placed upon your soul. It's there. You've received the sacrament. But the amount of grace operating in your life is greater or lesser, depending upon your disposition. And so we want to remember both sides of that principle. Ex opere operato obicem non ponentibus. You don't have to remember those words. Just remember that the sacraments indeed operate by their own power. However, the disposition of the one receiving the sacrament is very important. It is entirely possible to go to Mass every Sunday and to receive the sacraments regularly, but if your prayer life isn't intense, if you haven't entered into the life of Christ with your heart, mind, and your soul, then you will receive something as long as you're in a state of grace. But why not receive so much more by living an intense life of prayer and penance and virtue? You see, so it's important. Our spiritual life, to a great degree, determines how much of God's sanctifying grace we receive through the sacraments.